couple of weeks leading up to the big game, I'll be spending time with the coach, Geno DeMarco. No better place to be when you need a little R&R and some good conversation, this incredible campus. So the snow is finally starting to melt. The sun is shining. I can't tell you, it's so refreshing to come here to College Hill, and I see all these students, and they're so happy.
Well, it's because you came on a Friday.
Yeah.
All right, you came on a Friday. The temperature is actually in the 30 degrees, so they can actually walk around. That may be part of the reason.
How beautiful this place is, though. I love Geneva College. I mean, I really do. Such a spiritual place, but just such a nice, calming, and warm feeling you get on a cold winter day.
You know, Rob, you've been saying this like for years about coming over here, and truthfully, maybe I underappreciate it because I see it so much. But truly, if somebody would come and walk on our campus, and I don't care, like if you need to take wedding pictures, or you need to have family pictures, the settings that we have on our campus, you know, it's changed so dramatically that is it serene? Is that the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, that's the word.
Serene.
I just love it here. All right. So I'm headed to the Larry Bruno Foundation. Steve Higgins, who played high school football at Reeves, Beaver Falls, Larry Bruno. We're going to talk about the game that changed the National Football League, Super Bowl III, Joe Namath, who played his high school football here. And then Bobby Middleman, my dear friend from Enlo's. We're going to get down and talk a little college football. But I'm here to talk college with him. I'm here to talk about the divisional round games this weekend. And we're going to try to pop in here every Friday right up until that big game. But let's talk Notre Dame and let's talk Ohio State. I was reading some statistics last night. I was on location in East Liverpool. These two colleges have really left an incredible mark in college football, have they not?
I mean,
It's massive.
Massive mark on college football. I mean, Notre Dame has been the standard for decades. For decades. And Ohio State, I mean, anyone that lives in Ohio, you know, that is.
What's your earliest recollection of Notre Dame and Ohio State?
My earliest recollection of Notre Dame is obviously as a kid listening to them on TV because they were one of the only college football teams that you would, you know, and sometimes you would see the highlights or you would hear Lindsey Nelson
and Paul Hornung
and Paul Hornung, and that was the first time that I recognized that about Notre Dame. Got an opportunity to learn more about Notre Dame from just following when Holtz got there. Didn't know a whole lot about the program. Before that, it just as far as the inner workings of everything, right? Always amazed about the following that, I mean, there are people that are literally ill if Notre Dame loses.
Let me ask you, because you have ties to WVU, you were a grad assist there. You know, Major Harris, when they won the national championship, Notre Dame was the quarterback for WVU. How good was he? I mean, I remember him.
Yeah.
But was Nealon still there then, too?
Yeah, he was. Coach Nealon was there. Before I talk about this, I want to say this. That group of Notre Dame fans is unique, but the group of Ohio State alum is unique. Like, it's that same type of alignment.
Close-knit.
Yeah, close-knit. It was interesting because last night I was watching Coach Trussell on an interview with Gruden. And,
wow.
I played for Coach Trussell's dad, and I've known him long time. I mean, his roommate at Baldwin Wallace is one of our judges.
Wow.
Yeah, from New Brighton.
Jimmy Ross.
Jimmy.
No kidding.
Jimmy Ross and Coach Trussell were
Youngstown
roommates.
State, Ohio State, Jim Trussell and Jimmy Ross were roommates.
At BW, yes.
Wow.
And I went to BW because I got recruited by a New Brighton guy that was already there. Jimmy Ross also helped. But, yeah, Trussell's father was the head coach there for years. You know, so I've got a couple Trussell stories, but I don't want to get into it about recruiting.
How good of a coach was he?
Jim Trussell is amazing. And he learned from his dad. Jim Tressel just respected the game of football. Tressel was he was a guy all about poise, very, very, very much before everyone start using the term complementary football. Tressel was all about that, and he's going to develop what he was going to develop, and it was going to be that power game. It was going to be play. The punt is the play that he is most famous for in speeches and talking at clinics, because he can give probably an hour and a half discussion on the punt.
Before we move on, Nealon
Coach
and
Nealon?
Major Harris.
Coach Nealon. I had an opportunity to work for Coach Nealon for 2 years. And actually, when Major came down on his recruiting visit, I was with the coach to recruit him. I saw Major play 3 games his senior year when we were recruiting him.
How good was he?
Oh, he was the best. Here's what he would be. I feel the impact that he made at West Virginia at that time when he came, and how he got a whole state to rally around him. The charisma that he had, the leadership, the athletic ability, the way he could play, his competitiveness. They redshirted him his first year, and the first team defense couldn't stop him. And no one knows this, but I mean, in that game against Notre Dame, I mean, he gets hurt. If Major doesn't get hurt, this is only because I'm a WVU guy.
Right.
We win it. All right.
I didn't know that he got hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt. He broke a rib running the option. But on his recruiting visit, I have to take him home. So I got our number 1 recruit, and I'm driving him home back to Pittsburgh from Morgantown. And I said, Major, tell me, where do you want me to drop you off? And he said, Coach, just drop me off at Pitt Stadium. I said,
What?
Pitt Stadium? He goes, yeah, Pitt Stadium. He goes, I just live right down over the hill. And I said, if I drop you off at Pitt Stadium and Coach Nealon finds out,
I'm done.
I'm going to get fired. I will get fired. He goes, no, Coach, don't worry about it. He goes, I'm coming. I'm a mountaineer.
That's
priceless. He goes, just drop me off at Pitt Stadium. I just live over the hill. And he grew up in a very, very, very tough neighborhood. And honestly, probably didn't want. It
was a rough time in Pittsburgh. The mills were closing. He didn't want you to see. God bless him.
But his impact at WVU at that time was so monumental.
He was great.
That I would say it would be on half the magnitude of what Patrick Mahomes has done in capturing in his ability in the NFL.
Love it. Okay, let's talk some football. Speaking of Mahomes, they're the early game, and they are the favorite against the Texans. So how do you like C.J. Stroud's possibility of a major upset here?
I don't.
No?
I don't. I mean, you know that I'm going to be.
Mahomes is an old school player. I mean, he's blood and guts, man. He gets a high ankle sprain, like I said last night, and he's back in 5 days.
He's different. That's what I'm saying. He's got that. And the only reason I know this is because our quarterback, Dave Girardi, is the quarterback coach for the Chiefs. And I don't call Dave and ask him, hey, what are you guys running this week? What are you doing? But when we talk, I mean, the pro level in these guys that are playing in the NFL are a cut above. I mean, we're talking about 1% of the population. What they got at the Chiefs is they got a guy that's like 1% of the 1%. He's
natural athlete too.
Natural athlete, loves to compete, tough, always looking to get better. You go sport by sport, there's guys like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan's that guy.
Isn't that why Doc Lambert named his kid Nolan?
Yeah, it is.
That's
Nolan
a friend
Ryan
of ours.
is that way. Michael Jordan was that way. What I'm saying is these people are actually not competing against the Texans. he's competing against himself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a different level that we can't even comprehend.
And let's face it, he's got a great coach too in Andy Reid.
Oh, my.
That means a lot. Even though he is a natural athlete and times does carry the team on his shoulders, you got a pretty good coach in Andy Reid. All right, the other game that day, speaking of quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, what he has done as a rookie is phenomenal. They take on Detroit, Jared Goff. Ben Johnson's probably going to be gone. This is going to be the last go-around, hopefully, to the big game in New Orleans for him as offensive coordinator. Who do you like? Detroit. Detroit hasn't done anything since 1957, the year I was born. So that's going way, way back. I'll be 68 on January 29th, so you do the math, right? I'd love to see it. Be great for the Ford family. But whenever Washington and some of these old school franchises are making news like Detroit, Washington, it's good for the National Football League.
Oh, it's great for the National Football League. It has to happen because the last thing you want to see is just a group of teams like in baseball. I mean, it's the reason people watch March Madness is because you're looking for a team like this. I mean, this story with both of these franchises on how they came about and where they are. This story with Detroit to me is amazing. Their coach is old school. He coaches on the edge.
Oh, yeah.
He really does.
Quinn.
And he's got those guys playing.
Campbell, you're talking about.
He's got those guys playing with, I don't know how much emotion NFL guys can have during the course of a season because it's so long. But, I mean, he's able to keep those guys hungry. And that's what it is.
And they lost so many players this year.
Well, that's the thing that when you've got a culture and you've got something that's very deep is when you start losing. I mean, he lost.
Hutchinson.
I mean, we're talking about first round people.
Who still says he's going to be back if they get to the big game in February.
Yeah, and they're still winning. And
Montgomery's back. I mean,
that whole next man up mentality, right?
Right. Yeah,
they embody that.
Here's what's amazing: a little old school, little hometown flavor, little things that amaze me. And these are the things that most real journalists, which I'm not, wouldn't care about. But it's local stuff. Mark McCouga, many years we worked. Rhino Production did the original Geno DeMarco show, Tad, and that whole crew.
Oh yeah.
Is a diehard Washington Redskins or now Commanders. I mean, that's like his team.
Yeah.
And his son Danny is all about Detroit.
Oh, they're going to have a great time.
I mean, it amazes me with all this Steelers culture that you still have two of your closest friends in Washington. That's my team, says Dad, and son says Detroit. So it's going to be interesting. And Johnny's too, Washington.
Well, Coug, when Coug was coaching, the little guys, and I'm talking about,
midgets. That's what we used to call it.
Yeah, Pop Warner. He may be the only other guy that got more wound up and more anxious about playing a game than me. Like, I had to go and settle him down because, I don't know what's going on. But, I have to do this. I kind of wanted to tell him, your job here is at Rhino. You're coaching.
Him and Mitch Carver were great coaches at that level.
But my relationship with Mark goes back to, I played third base in Little League. He was a shortstop, right?
Yeah.
I was Sal Bando. He was Bert Campaneris.
Sal Bando.
So, I mean, this whole Washington thing is true. And I guarantee you, the number one play that the Redskins ran were Connor Trey, that they ran it to death.
I think of the great Doug Williams out of Grambling. Love him.
Oh, love him.
But the crimson and gold that they wear has, I'm sure, something to do with it, the new Brighton flavor. But I just find stuff like that really, really interesting. All right, so Washington, Detroit. Who are you going to go? Detroit?
Where are they playing that game? In Detroit, right?
Oh, yeah, Detroit, Ford Field. 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so you're going with Kansas City and Detroit.
Right.
Now, Sunday, as much as, hey, it's from Philadelphia. Who doesn't love Philadelphia? I mean, cheesesteaks, all right? I just do not see the Eagles advancing. I think Jalen Hurts, with the concussion protocol, he's still trying to figure it out. Just got back last week. He hasn't really had a great season. Saquon Barkley has been off the charts. But Matthew Stafford with these two guys, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and they have a good defense, even without Aaron Donald, which I've been talking a lot about. It just seems like the Rams, I still think they could be the team representing the NFC in New Orleans. What do you
How
think?
did the Rams defense
I know, get
get
better
so good,
without Aaron Donald.
so fast without Aaron Donald?
I know. It's. I think about that all the time.
You
That's
know,
coaching.
yeah,
It's coaching.
and it's coaching, and I remember when they first came together, and the kid's the quarterback, the coach is a younger guy, and he's a hotshot, and man, no, I don't know. Now, good. I got to tell you though, I don't know how you can pick against the offense and defensive line
Philly.
of the Eagles.
Yeah, I know. The defense is just tremendous.
They are just.
And the offensive line is probably the best offensive line in all of pro football.
And think about this. That's without
Jason Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. Now, you don't talk about coaching. Yeah. They've done a great job offensively with that.
So how about what's swirling around today? And this Sunday, we're going to be at Pirate Fest, so we're going to be talking baseball for the full 2 hours, and it's open tomorrow and Sunday to the public at the convention center. It's kind of why I've got the old pirate hat on today. Love a Pirate Fest. Looking forward to it. But we'll be back next week with Ted talking the NFL. There's all sorts of crazy things out there with the Steelers. Mike McCarthy from Greenfield, PA, ends up as the offensive coordinator because Arthur Smith's probably going to become a head coach. That's what word on the street is. Saleh could become the defensive coordinator, and Aaron Rodgers could become the quarterback. 2 out of 3. I'm not so, and I love Aaron Rodgers. Greatest quarterback of his generation, in my opinion. I just don't know. That Achilles injury, we saw Kirk Cousins. Danny Marino was never the same, and that was back in the day. And they have perfected all sorts of surgeries. Look, I have an ankle fusion that Dr. Mayo did back in 2004. I'm great, but there's no way I can do wind sprints anymore. So I'm just saying, mechanically, I don't know if you ever recover if you're a quarterback after an Achilles injury. And then now Deshaun Watson, it happened again. So I don't even know if he'll ever play again.
No, that's going to be real tough. Really tough for him.
What do the Steelers? I love Mike Tomlin, but isn't it amazing? You don't have a losing season ever, and you've had trouble winning in the postseason, and everybody wants your job. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, he's still a great coach. He still belongs to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. He should retire as a Steeler. But I think fans sometimes get a little too spoiled, and I'm one of them. But we've had a nice run here in Pittsburgh.
I'm not going to comment
on
anything with the Steelers only because
you've been a coach too long.
I've been a coach too long, and I've had friends that have coached on that staff, and it's just
you got to be so proud of where some of your assistants have gone.
Well,
and players, it's people don't know that story. That's the backstory. It's incredible.
Here's the thing to fans, and because I listen all day when I'm out recruiting, I'm on 93 points. I'm listening, man. And by the way, loved the interview that Jeff had with Clancy last night.
He's Sam Clancy.
Sam Clancy.
Yeah. Jeff's the best.
Well,
Jeff Hathorne, by the way, our sports director.
People don't understand that we're talking about an organization. We're talking about a business. We're talking about a group that has a CEO and this thing goes back to. I was shocked to find out that they haven't fired a football coach since head coach. They haven't fired a head coach since I think it's 1960.
Right before Noel came in. 69.
65, 68. And the guy's name was, why do I want to say it was Abe Gibron? It wasn't.
Well, the bottom line,
but
they don't need it. They have had success. Bottom line. I think Tomlin's got another 4 years in him, and then Marcus Freeman's contract will be up at Notre Dame, and he comes to Pittsburgh. Anyway, let's move on now. We've got, so you're thinking the Eagles. Then you got the marquee matchup, 6:30 on Sunday night. It's the Ravens and Bills. The only thing sad about this, whoever loses, they're going to be questioning their ability to win the big game. Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. I want Buffalo. That's my team. But if Lamar doesn't win this game, and he is the best player, him and Pat Mahomes are like neck and neck, shoulder to shoulder, in my opinion. I actually think Lamar may have a little bit more skill set because he can scoot with the football. But it's almost a shame if somebody has to lose this game.
It's football. Somebody is going to lose.
I know.
Somebody's going to lose. Derrick Henry ran the A gap for I don't know how many yards on that last play. And there were people.
What a player.
There were people that were, let's just say they were out of place. And whether or not they wanted to tackle him, I can't judge that. I got my own opinion. The Bills, on the other hand, Bob Babich is their defensive coordinator. Bob Babich, if this is the right Bobby Babich, this is the guy that played linebacker at Aliquippa in '79 when I got out of high school. He's been around the NFL. He was a Pitt guy. He was head coach out at one of the North Dakota State, North Dakota. He is a true football guy. He's been in the NFL for so long.
Well, you're Googling that. Let me ask you something.
I am going to Google it.
How's recruiting going?
Well, what's happening right now in college football is interesting too. Bob Babich is 63 years old.
That's got to be him.
Okay, and he is now the defensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills.
That's him.
And that is him right there. And I had the opportunity to work a football camp with Bob. Man,
You're just a wealth of knowledge today.
Yeah. So, and then what are we talking about?
We're just talking about
the Bills.
Somebody's going to have to lose.
Yeah. I don't think Bob Babich is going to have a linebacker that'll be out of place or be questioning whether or not they want to tackle Derrick Henry.
Oh.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, man, somebody's going to hit him. You got to find a way. They had a little bit of a problem with the quarterback on the option. It was said a little bit of quarter, and it may have been by design. The Steelers did that. Know a little bit about running the option. Know a little bit about who helped the Ravens get to where they are in their option game. They went to the best guy, and he came up and taught them, and that was Paul Johnson from Georgia Tech when he retired.
You remember those statues you used to get when you played football? I never got one, but you guys played. And every quarterback statue, my sister was a majorette. They gave her one twirling her baton. But the quarterbacks are all like this.
Right. Oh, they're right there, that one. That's exactly it.
Johnny U. The reason that Namath wore number 19. Listen, in high school, you realize Joe Namath, who's from this great community of ours, great baseball player, kind of like a Pat Mahomes, could have played Major League Baseball. But do you realize that Super Bowl, that they were an 18.5-point underdog to Baltimore? Yes. It changed the game. It made the Super Bowl larger than life. It's the reason why the brand is what it is today. That game, Orange Bowl, Kurt Gowdy behind the microphone, NBC, Namath going off. And right down the road here, the foundation, if you're watching this anywhere, which is so great about social media around the world, and you want to relive any of that history of Joe, you need to come to the foundation in Beaver Falls.
It's almost sad. Recruits in here, and
time's
just
getting
the
away.
other day, and they would say, "Well, what do you got that orange BF on a 19-yard line for?" It's for Joe Namath. The 19 is because Johnny Unitas was his idol when he was in high school, and they said, and then I would ask, "How many of you know who Joe Namath is?" And the other day, I had 2 kids put their hand. Parents, how many of you know who Joe Namath is? And I had about 80%. So then I said, this is a guy that changed pro football.
He did.
He made the NFL what it is, and it really goes back to this. You got the AFL, who he brought instant credibility to the AFL by winning that game, and now the NFL is like, you know what? These people aren't going to go away. Maybe we should.
In closing, what do you do this time of year? What's a college football coach? You said recruiting, but what do you do when it's winter and it's January? Are you still recovering from the season?
No, we had visits that we have. You know, obviously, guys are coming to campus, and I still think we're probably one of the very few schools left that still go out to the local high schools within 2 hours.
Important.
And go see people. But we spent this morning refining, offensively of what we're going to be doing. So there's always something to do.
I had Dom DeCiccio, Thomas Jefferson, and Joe Ehrman of Peters Township on the other night. That's, of course, the Power Bowser. Don't forget that wonderful dealership here in Chippewa with that great name on KDK Radio. There's still nothing like hoops. And I don't think a lot of people realize Matheny Fieldhouse, that's where college basketball started. And we're just a few feet from the floor. Pretty special, this place.
Really special. And that is a feud that goes back between us and Vanderbilt. Because I remember the time that, we got it out there. And but we got it verified. This is a birthplace of college basketball.
You know, I visited this school and had lunch in the cafeteria and went home, told my mom and dad, maybe Geneva. My dad put his fork full of meatloaf down and he went, have you seen your grades? It ain't happening. So maybe this is why I love coming here so much, because I want to dare to dream. Man, I was so full of life back then. There wasn't anything I could do. I spent probably 10 years here working out 5 days a week, running bleachers, lifting weights, doing radio here. I'm going to be 68 years old. I've never felt better. But every time I come here, I'm that 18-year-old kid again, with just that thought of maybe I could go to school there. And I watched so many of my friends go here, and my brother-in-law fell in love with my sister attending here. They back in the valley now in Chippewa. My daughter works in Beaver Falls, so full circle.
If you were running the steps at Reeves Stadium back in the day,
I was.
That was original steps. They're made out of concrete. And we're not talking about little steps like this. We're talking about
giant.
If you're right, yeah. And those are legendary. I mean, if you didn't run the steps back then, you weren't ready.
Let me tell you one other quick story. And this is a fact. So it's the fall of 1980. That's when I was running a lot. And I got hit by a truck, run over in Vanport. I think you knew this, right? So signed myself out of the hospital with my dad saying, you can't go. You're bleeding. I said, I just started a job in Newcastle. They'll fire me, which they did end up firing me for, because I couldn't get back to work for a while. They had to let me go. But I had a drainage tube in my leg because I had such lacerations. And I will not tell the audience who that person was because he's a dear friend. But I made my friend, when my mother went to the store, drive me here because I was afraid I would never be able to run again. And with that drainage tube, maybe this is too much information, but you know me, I'm just a little Rocky Balboa here, draining out of my leg. I did a mile around the track and I went, and it was pure, you know what? And I said, you can take me home now. But that's how OCD driven, 100 degrees. Running to Midland because somebody said I couldn't run 26 miles in 140 degree temperature, and running these bleachers when the steps were literally like that. But I still feel youthful. I would never do any of that today. But when I come here, it just makes my heart rate speed up a little bit because it just has such positive vibes. The spiritual aspect, the curriculum, what people have done that have graduated from here. I mean, just some of the names you were throwing out. I mean, and you've been here for 3 decades, 4 decades. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to get a good education and you want your children to be able to advance and do some incredible things, let them come to the great community of Beaver Falls. Have you ever met Joe Namath?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Isn't it kind of awe-inspiring? I was here, met him again when his brother, actually the first time, when we've talked many, many times. I may have met him one other time, but when his brother passed, and I was at the funeral home, and the thing that I couldn't believe, and I was fine, I could have a good conversation with him, but I was the same height as him. I always thought he was like larger than life, Joe Willie, you know what I mean? And here we are standing side by side, and to this day, it's one of the greatest moments. It was a sad day because his brother Frank was a great guy. I loved him.
Tremendous man.
Incredible speaker. I mean, could do anything, just larger than life. All right, so have you survived since D&G Pizza shut down in Beaver Falls? What's up with that?
I go to center and pretend.
thing.
Just pretend.
You realize I love Beaver Falls. We lost a hot dog shop and we lost D&G. Enough of that. No more.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
You're the best.
No, not at all. Trust me, you're the best.
Listen, if you don't speak from the heart, what's the sense of speaking?
Yeah.
You got to be a game changer for people. And that's what you've taught me.
Yeah.
You've come and visited me in my house when I needed someone to come and visit me in my house. You let me come here for years when I needed to come somewhere. But I'm good now.
Good.
Put me in,
Let's
Coach.
go. Put me in.
Listen,
You've been throwing that ball around during this whole
I
interview.
absolutely love this game.
Yeah.
And even though I'm going to be working late into the night, pretty much very little sleep next 2 days because it's 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday.
Shocker.
I love it, though. I love the game of football.
Yeah.
And this place, to see these kids play this game here when it's a beautiful sun-splashed Saturday, come on, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any better.
Yeah. It's
Geno DeMarco, head coach, will be back here next week getting ready for the big game, but it's going to be divisional round action this weekend. Westwood One Radio, 93.7 The Fan, Pirate Fest. I'll be there coming up on Sunday. Dan Zangrilli will be there as well, as will 93.7 The Fan. So getting ready for pitchers and catchers. And how about Bob Euchre passing away?
Oh,
in the front row. Was he great? Oh, storyteller.
Sign off with, show me that your statuette is a quarterback. There you go. We're done.